"You must be mistaken," think the sweetheart. "This seat is for people like me." Those words, dripping with venom at 30,000 feet, were about to cost Victoria Hartwell everything, because the elegant black woman she just humiliated, she didn't just own that seat, she owned the entire damn airline. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and smash the bell icon, drop a comment telling me what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end for what happens next. People like you don't usually sit here. Quinella Royce heard those words before she even saw the woman's face. The voice slithered through first class like oil on water, smooth, expensive, and impossible to wash off. She was 43 years old. She'd built a fortune from nothing. She owned companies' properties and, yes, airlines. But standing in that aisle at JFK boarding pass, trembling slightly in her hand, Quinella felt 8 years old again. Colored waiting rooms around Batgirl. The memory hit her like a punch. She blinked it away. Focus, present, now. Seat 2A. Her seat. Occupied by a white woman in a cream silk blouse that probably cost more than most people's rent. Blonde hair and a perfect chignon. Diamonds that caught the overhead lights like tiny knives. The woman Victoria Hartwell, though Quinella didn't know that yet, didn't even look up from her champagne. "Excuse me," Quinella said quietly. Professional, calm, the voice she'd perfected over 2 decades of boardrooms full of men who looked right through her. "I think you're in my seat." Victoria's eyes lifted slowly, deliberately, like Quinella wasn't worth the full speed of her attention. "I don't think so." She smiled, the kind of smile that wasn't a smile at all. "I specifically requested this seat when I booked. Perhaps you should double-check your ticket. The way she said you made it sound like your kind." Quinella held up her boarding pass. "Seat 2A, Royce Quinella. That's me. That's this seat." Victoria took another sip of champagne. Slow, unbothered. "Well, I'm sitting here now, and I'm quite comfortable. Maybe check with the gate agent. I'm sure there's been some computer error." The condescension wrapped around every word like barbed wire. A business traveler in 1C glanced up, then immediately back at his laptop. A young couple in 3A suddenly became fascinated with the safety card. An older white man in 1D adjusted his newspaper higher. Quinella knew that move. Everyone suddenly blind. Everyone suddenly deaf. "There's no error, sure," she said. Her voice stayed level, but something underneath it began to harden like cooling steel. "This is my assigned seat. I need you to move." "And I'm telling you, sweetheart, I fly this route every month." Victoria finally turned to face her fully. Her eyes traveled up and down Quinella's body, the navy pantsuit, the leather carry-on, yet the neat twist in her natural hair. Assessing, categorizing, dismissing. "I always sit in 2A, so clearly someone made a mistake with your booking." "The only mistake here is you sitting in my seat." Victoria's smile turned sharp. "You know what, I've had a very long day. I have a critical meeting in London, and I simply don't have the energy for this right now." She turned back to her champagne. "So why don't you just find another seat, and we can all move on with our lives?" The cabin felt like it was shrinking. Quinella's phone buzzed in her pocket. Probably her assistant. Probably the reminder about the emergency board meeting she was flying to London for. The meeting about the merger. The meeting that could make or break everything she'd built. She should just take another seat. She should just let it go. She should just... At what point do you stop letting them erase you? The thought came in her mother's voice. Her mother who'd cleaned houses for women like Victoria. Her mother who'd taught her, don't ever let them make you small baby. Don't ever shrink. "No," Quinella said. Victoria blinked. "Excuse me." "I said no. I'm not finding another seat. This is my seat. Move." For the first time, irritation cracked through Victoria's facade. "Listen, I don't know what your problem is." "My problem is you're in my seat. And I've explained to you. You've explained nothing. You've just assumed that I'm the one who doesn't belong here." Victoria's jaw tightened. "I assumed no such thing." "Didn't you?" Silence. Then Victoria leaned back and her voice dropped to something almost conversational, intimate, deadly. "Look, I'm trying to be polite here, but let's be realistic. People like you," she paused, let the words hang there like a noose, "don't usually sit in first class, so when there's confusion about seating, it's generally safe to assume, well, you understand." The cabin went cold. In seat 4C, a middle-aged black man froze his coffee cup halfway to his lips. In 5F, a young woman with blue streaks in her hair. Zoe Kim, college sophomore, social justice warrior. 47,000 Instagram followers, felt her blood pressure spike. She'd been half watching the whole thing. Now she was fully paying attention. Her phone was already in her hand. Quinella stared at Victoria, really stared, seeing her clearly for the first time. This wasn't ignorance. This was malice wrapped in pearls and perfume. "People like me," Quinella repeated softly. "I didn't mean," Victoria started, but her eyes said exactly what she meant. "Yes, you did." A flight attendant appeared like a ghost, materializing from the galley. Young Asian smile, practiced and bright. Her name tag read Sarah Chen. "Is everything okay here, ladies?" The false cheer in her voice was almost impressive. "No," Quinella said. "This passenger is in my assigned seat and refuses to move." Sarah's smile flickered. She glanced at Victoria, then back to Quinella. Something shifted in her expression, subtle but there. A decision being made. "Let me see your boarding pass." Quinella handed it over. Sarah studied it. For too long. Like the letters might rearrange themselves if she stared hard enough. "Okay, so you're booked for 2A. She looked at Victoria. "And you said you requested this seat?" "I always sit here," Victoria said firmly. "Every single flight. My assistant books it months in advance." "I see." Sarah handed the boarding pass back to Quinella. Her smile was apologetic now. Pitying. "So it looks like there might have been a double booking. That happens sometimes with our system, but the good news is we have several other wonderful seats available in first class. I can get you set up in 5A. It's actually a really great seat, more legroom, and—" "I don't want 5A, Quinella interrupted. "Or 6C is available. That's a window seat if you prefer. I want 2A. "Shikamine insisti?" Sarah's smile tightened. "I understand, but Ms. Hartwell is already settled and we're trying to push back on time." Then unsettled her. "Ma'am." "I'm not a ma'am. I'm a paying passenger with an assigned seat." "I understand you're frustrated." Sarah's voice took on that specific tone, the one people use with children and dogs and anyone they think is being unreasonable. "But we need to be flexible here. We're all on the same team trying to get to London." "Are we?" Quinella asked quietly. "Because it seems like she gets to stay comfortable and I get asked to be flexible." Sarah blinked. "That's not— Did you ask her to move?" "Well, she's already seated." "So was I, before she took my seat." "Ma'am, I don't think that's—" "Stop calling me ma'am. My name is Quinella Royce. It's on the boarding pass you're holding." Pink bloomed in Sarah's cheeks. "Ms. Royce, I'm trying to help resolve this situation." "Then resolve it. Make her move." Victoria sighed like she was dealing with a tantrum. "Good Lord, this is absurd. There are empty seats everywhere. Why are you being so difficult?" Difficult. That word. Quinella had heard it her entire career. Every time she asked for what she'd earned. Every time she refused to accept less. Every time she existed in spaces that weren't built for her. Difficult. Aggressive. Intimidating. Angry. Never mind that she was calmer than Victoria. Never mind that she was the one being wronged. She was difficult because she wouldn't disappear. "I'm not being difficult," Quinella said. Each word measured. Deliberate. "I'm being accurate. This is my seat. I have proof. She doesn't. She should move. This isn't complicated." In seat 5F, Zoe's thumb hovered over her Instagram icon. She'd seen enough. She knew what this was. She opened the app, switched to video, pointed her camera, and pressed go live. "Okay guys, buckle up," she whispered into her phone, angling it to capture Quinella and Victoria. "You are not going to believe what I'm witnessing right now. We haven't even taken off, and there's already drama in first class." The viewer counter started climbing. 12 viewers, 47 viewers, 128 viewers. Sarah pulled out her tablet, typing something, probably calling for backup. "Ms. Royce, I'm going to ask you one more time to please take an alternate seat so we can depart on schedule. If you continue to refuse, I'll have no choice but to call the captain." "Then call him." Sarah's professional mask cracked. Frustration leaked through. "Ma'am, Ms. Royce, you're holding up an entire plane full of people." "No, she is," Quinella pointed at Victoria. "She's the one in the wrong seat. But you're the one refusing to compromise." There it was, that word again. Compromise. Quinella had compromised her whole life. Compromised her comfort so white colleagues felt less threatened. Compromised her voice so boardrooms stayed calm. Compromised her name going by Quinn for years because Quinella was too hard to pronounce. She'd compromised herself into a corner so many times she'd memorized the shape of every wall. Not today. "You want to know something?" Quinella's voice was quiet, but it carried through the cabin like a bell. "I've been flying first class for 20 years. Do you know how many times I've been asked to move for someone else's convenience? Do you know how many times I've been questioned about whether I belong in my seat? Sarah shifted uncomfortably. I'm sure 12 times. I counted. 12 times I've been asked if I'm sure I'm in the right cabin. 8 times someone assumed I was traveling on someone else's dime. 4 times I was told the seat I paid for must be a mistake. And every single time, every time I moved. I compromised. I let it go. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. She looked directly at Victoria. But here's what I finally understood. It's never about the seat. It's about who deserves to take up space. And the answer you keep giving me is not me. The cabin was dead silent now. Even the background hum of the air system seemed to fade. Victoria's face hardened. You're being dramatic. This has nothing to do with... Say it, Quinella challenged. Say what you mean. Say what we both know you're thinking. I don't know what you're... You said people like me don't usually sit in first class. What did you mean by that? Say it clearly, out loud, for everyone to hear. Victoria's mouth opened. Closed. Her eyes darted around the cabin looking for support for witnesses who would confirm she wasn't the villain here. But people were watching now, really watching. The man in 4C had his phone out. The woman in 3F was recording. Zoe's live stream hit 500 viewers. I simply meant, Victoria floundered. People who dress? More casually. I'm wearing a suit. People who book last minute. I booked 3 months ago. People who... Victoria stopped. Reset. Drew herself up like a queen on a throne. Fine. You want the truth? I've flown this route for 15 years. I've earned the right to choose where I sit. I'm a platinum member. I spend hundreds of thousands with this airline. What have you done? Would you like the full list? Quinella asked. Or just the highlights? This is ridiculous. Because I built 3 companies from the ground up. I've closed deals in 14 countries. I'm flying to London right now to finalize a merger worth $2.3 billion, so when you ask what I've done, Quinella's voice could have cut diamonds. I've done everything you've done. I've just done it while people like you questioned whether I deserved to be in the room. Victoria's face went red. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth, refuse to move, exist in a seat I paid for. You're being hostile. I'm being precise. Sarah stepped between them, hands up like a referee. Okay, that's enough. Both of you need to... Don't you dare both me, Quinella said, her eyes never leaving Sarah's face. I have done nothing but stand here with my boarding pass and ask for my seat. She has insulted me, dismissed me, and refused to move. We are not the same. Sarah's jaw tightened. I'm calling the captain. She turned toward the cockpit. Victoria smirked. Finally, someone with actual authority. Quinella's phone buzzed again. She glanced at it. Assistant board meeting starts in 90 minutes. You need to be wheels up in 10. Everything okay? No, nothing was okay. Nothing had been okay for a very long time. But she was done pretending. She typed back, I'll be late. Handle it. Assistant, what should I tell them? Quinella looked at Victoria at Sarah walking toward the cockpit at the passengers watching with their phones out. Tell them I'm making a point. In 5F, Zoe's live stream hit 2,000 viewers. The comments were exploding. What is happening? Is this real? Someone better help that woman. I'm so angry right now. This is why I don't fly. Get her out of that seat. A man emerged from the cockpit. Tall white gray at the temple's uniform, crisp. Captain stripes on his shoulders. He looked tired before he even reached them. What's going on here? His voice had that specific male authority, the kind that expected immediate compliance. Sarah jumped in fast. Captain Morrison, this passenger is refusing to take an alternate seat. She's insisting on 2A, even though it's occupied, and she's holding up our departure. Captain Morrison looked at Quinella, then at Victoria, then back at Quinella. His gaze lingered just a second too long on her face. Her hair, her skin. Quinella saw the assessment happen in real time, saw him decide who was reasonable and who was trouble. Ma'am. He addressed Quinella like she was a problem to solve. I'm Captain Morrison. I understand there's been some confusion about seating. There's no confusion. I have a boarding pass for 2A. She's sitting in it. I'd like her to move. He glanced at Victoria, who gave him a helpless little shrug, a damsel in distress routine that would have been funny if it wasn't so effective. Well? He smiled like he was being generous. I'm sure we can work something out. We have several excellent seats available in first class. Captain Morrison? Quinella's voice stopped him cold. With respect, I don't care what other seats are available. I booked this one. I paid for this one. I want this one. I understand, but do you? Because from where I'm standing, you haven't asked her to move. You haven't checked her boarding pass. You haven't questioned her story. You just assumed I'm the problem. His smile faded. That's not what's happening here. Isn't it? Ma'am, I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to move me so you don't have to deal with her. That's not fair. What's not fair is that I'm the only one being asked to compromise. Captain Morrison's patience was visibly thinning. Look, we're already 17 minutes behind schedule. I have a plane full of passengers who want to get to London. I need to make a decision here. Then make the right one. I'm asking you as a courtesy to please take another seat. 5A is available. It's a great seat. More legroom, quieter. I don't want 5A. Ma'am? Stop calling me ma'am. Quinella's voice was still quiet, but something in it made him step back. My name is Quinella Royce, and I am not moving from this aisle until she moves from my seat. Victoria finally stood, smoothing her silk blouse with theatrical weariness. Captain, I appreciate your patience, but this is getting absurd. I have a very important meeting in London. I simply don't have time for this situation. She said situation like it tasted bad. I completely understand, Ms. Hartwell. Captain Morrison's voice warmed immediately. He knew her name. He knew her without asking. We'll get you taken care of. Quinella didn't miss it. That shift, that instant softening. He turned back to her and the warmth vanished. Ms. Royce, I'm going to be very clear. I'm giving you one final opportunity to voluntarily take another seat. If you refuse, I will call security and have you removed from this aircraft. Do you understand? The cabin held its breath. Zoe's live stream hit 5,000 viewers. No, 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 no. Someone stop this. This is insane. Call the news. I'm already calling. Quinella looked at Captain Morrison for a long moment, studied his face, saw the exhaustion there, saw a man who just wanted this problem to disappear, saw someone who would never ever understand what it was like to have your humanity questioned every time you entered a space you'd earned. I understand perfectly, she said quietly. Then what's your decision? Quinella pulled out her phone. What are you doing? Sarah asked nervously. Quinella didn't answer. She opened an app on her phone, one most people had never seen, one that didn't exist in any app store. It was black, simple, a single interface. At the top, Pinnacle Airways, Executive Command Center. Below it, her name, her photo, her title, Chief Executive Officer. She scrolled through the options. Past flight manifests, past crew assignments, past maintenance logs. She found what she needed. Emergency protocols. Her thumb hovered over a red button. Ground, all aircraft. Executive override. She thought about her mother, about being 8 years old in that whites-only waiting room, about every boardroom where she'd been the only black face, about every time she'd swallowed her dignity to keep the peace, about 43 years of being asked to compromise her humanity so other people could stay comfortable. She pressed the button. Somewhere deep in the cockpit, an alarm began to sound. Sharp, insistent, wrong. Captain Morrison's radio squawked to life. Captain Morrison, this is operations. We're showing an emergency ground hold on flight 1947. Confirm status. He grabbed his radio, confused, annoyed. Operations, this is Morrison. We haven't initiated any emergency protocols. There must be some mistake. Negative, Captain. We're showing an executive override. Authorization code Alpha Romeo 7793. You're grounded effective immediately. Return to gate. Executive override. What executive? Every passenger's phone buzzed simultaneously. A push notification from the Pinnacle Airways app. Flight 1947. Temporarily grounded. More information to follow. The cabin erupted in confused murmurs. What's happening? Are we grounded? Why, Zoe's live stream crashed. Too many people trying to join at once. She refreshed. 10,000 viewers, then 15,000, then it crashed again. Captain Morrison was staring at his radio like it had betrayed him. Operations, I need clarification. Who authorized this ground hold? Stand by, Captain. Quinella stood up straighter, rolled her shoulders back, let herself take up space for the first time since boarding. When she spoke, her voice carried through the entire cabin like a blade. I did. Every head turned. Victoria's smirk faltered. What? I authorized the ground hold. Captain Morrison's face went from confused to pale in under 3 seconds. What are you talking about? Quinella reached into her bag, pulled out her ID badge, the one she rarely carried because she rarely needed to prove who she was in buildings she owned. She held it up. Her photo, her name. and in bold letters beneath Quinella Royce, Chief Executive Officer, Pinnacle Airways. The cabin exploded. Gasps, shouts. A woman in 6D actually screamed. Zoe's phone nearly slipped from her shaking hands. Victoria stumbled backward into 2A into Quinella's seat like her legs had stopped working. Her face drained of color so fast she looked like she might faint. You're lying, she whispered. Am I? Quinella pulled out her phone, showed the executive interface still glowing on her screen. Does this look like a lie? Sarah Chen went white as paper. Her tablet slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Captain Morrison looked like he was having a heart attack. Ms. Royce, I didn't realize. I didn't know. You shouldn't have needed to know, Quinella said, her voice colder than the air at 30,000 feet. You should have checked boarding passes. You should have enforced policy. You should have treated me like a human being with rights. But instead, you threatened to remove me because asking a white woman to stand up was too inconvenient. Ma'am, Ms. Royce, I apologize. I didn't mean... Your apology means nothing to me right now. The cabin was chaos. Phones everywhere. People standing. Zoe's streamback online viewer count climbing into 6 figures. Quinella turned to Sarah. And you told me to be flexible. You asked me to compromise. Did you ask her? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. I didn't know who you were. You didn't need to know who I was. Quinella's voice cracked like a whip. You needed to respect that I was a person, a passenger, a human being with a valid ticket and a right to the seat I paid for. That's it. That's the bar, and you couldn't clear it. Sarah started crying, full sobs. Quinella felt nothing. She'd cried those tears too many times. In bathroom stalls at conferences, in her car after meetings where she'd been talked over and dismissed, in her own damn home after days of being questioned, diminished, erased. She was done crying. She looked at Victoria, who was shaking now. Mascara running. Diamonds that had seemed so sharp now just looked like glass. You asked me what I've done to deserve this seat, Quinella said softly. Let me tell you what I've done. I've built Pinnacle Airways from the ground up. I started as a reservation agent 22 years ago, worked night shifts, took every extra hour, learned every system, climbed every ladder they said wasn't meant for people like me. Victoria's mouth opened, but no sound came out. I bought my first share of stock with my first bonus check, then another, then another. I watched men with half my experience get promoted over me. I watched women who looked like you walk into jobs I'd trained them for. I smiled through it all. I compromised through it all. I made myself smaller through it all. She stepped closer. But 15 years ago, I stopped asking for permission. I bought enough shares to get a board seat. Then I bought more. Then more. Then I orchestrated a buyout that shocked the entire industry. Now I own 67% of this company. I'm the CEO, the majority shareholder. The woman whose signature is on every plane, every policy, every paycheck. She gestured around the cabin. This isn't just my seat, Ms. Hartwell. This is my plane. This is my airline. These are my employees. And right now all of it is grounded because you couldn't see past my skin color long enough to respect my humanity. Victoria was crying now. Full ugly sobs. Quinella felt no satisfaction, no triumph, just exhaustion. You said people like me don't usually sit in first class. She continued quietly. You were wrong. People like me own first class. We've always been here, working, building, climbing. You just never had to see us before because we were too busy being flexible. She turned to Captain Morrison, who looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. You're suspended, effective immediately, pending investigation. Ms. Royce, please, I have a family. So do the passengers you were willing to let watch me be humiliated. So do I. Your family doesn't make your judgment less dangerous. I made a mistake. You made a choice. You saw 2 passengers in conflict and you decided one of us mattered less. That's not a mistake, that's bias, and I will not have it commanding my aircraft. She looked at Sarah. You're suspended too. Sarah collapsed into herself, sobbing harder. Quinella's executive assistant was calling. She ignored it. The board chair was calling. Ignored. Her lawyer ignored. She addressed the entire cabin. This flight will remain grounded until every passenger currently aboard has been rescreened and reaccommodated according to actual policy, not assumptions, not convenience, not bias. Anyone who has a problem with that can file a complaint with me directly. She looked directly into Zoe's phone camera, knowing millions were watching now. My name is Quinella Royce. I'm the CEO of Pinnacle Airways. What you just witnessed isn't an isolated incident. This is every single day for people who look like me. The only difference is this time I had the power to make you pay attention." She paused. Let that sink in. "And if you're watching this thinking I overreacted, if you think I should have just taken another seat, then you're part of the problem. Because the question was never about the seat. It was about whether I deserved to be treated like a human being, and the answer should always be yes." Zoe's hands were shaking so hard the camera wobbled. The comments were a flood. "Holy shit. She owns the airline. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I'm crying. Queen. Everyone needs to see this." Security was boarding now. Confused. Trying to figure out what emergency had grounded the plane. Quinella held up her badge. "Stand down. I'm handling this." They froze. Recognized her. Stepped back. She turned to Victoria one last time. "Ms. Hartwell, I want you to remember this moment. I want you to remember what it felt like to have everything shift under your feet, to realize the person you dismissed had more power than you ever imagined, to understand too late that you destroyed yourself with your own assumptions." Victoria couldn't even look at her. "That feeling," Quinella said softly, "that's what it feels like for us every single day. The difference is we don't get to learn from it and move on. We just have to survive it, over and over and over." She picked up her carry-on. "You can have 2A, Ms. Hartwell. I'm taking a different flight, one where I won't have to smell your panic for the next 7 hours. She walked down the aisle. Every passenger stood as she passed. Some were crying, some were filming, some were just staring in awe. The man from 4C reached out his hand. She took it. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not backing down." She nodded, kept walking. Behind her, chaos erupted, passengers shouting questions. Media somehow already at the gate, security trying to manage the situation. Quinella stepped off the plane into a wall of flashing cameras. Ms. Royce? What happened on that plane? Is it true you grounded your own flight? Are you filing charges?" She held up a hand. The crowd went silent. "I'll be releasing a full statement within the hour, but I'll say this now. What happened on Flight 1847 happens every day to people of color in this industry and every other industry. The only difference is today the person it happened to had the power to make it matter. That's not justice, that's luck. And luck isn't enough." She walked away. Her phone was exploding. Texts, calls, notifications. She got in her car, closed the door, sat in silence. Then she opened Twitter. Hashtag Seat for Respect was already trending, #1 worldwide. She opened Instagram. Zoe's livestream had been viewed 847,000 times. And climbing. She opened her email. The board chair. Subject urgent. Call me immediately. She called. Quinella, what the hell just happened? What should have happened a long time ago? The media is everywhere. Our stock is dropping. Let it drop. Quinella. Edward will rebuild, but will rebuild it right this time. No more looking the other way. No more isolated incidents. No more asking people to compromise their dignity for our bottom line. Silence on the other end. Then quietly, you're really doing this. I just grounded a plane and suspended a captain on camera. I'm not backing down now. Another pause. You know what, Good? It's about damn time someone did. He hung up. Quinella sat in her car watching the sun set over JFK. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. My daughter is 12. She's black and brilliant and terrified of the world. She just watched your video. She's crying. But she's also smiling. She said, Mama, I want to be like her. Thank you. Thank you for showing her she doesn't have to shrink. Quinella read it 3 times. Then she put her phone down, opened her laptop, and started typing. Because this wasn't over. This was just the beginning. She was about to change everything, and the whole world was watching. The statement went live at 11:47 p.m. Quinella sat in her home office overlooking Central Park, the city lights bleeding through the floor-to-ceiling windows like stars that had fallen too close to Earth. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for just a moment before she hit publish. The internet detonated. Within 3 minutes, her statement had been retweeted 50,000 times. Within 10, every major news outlet was running it as breaking news. Within 20, her phone had received 847 calls she didn't answer. She read it one more time on her screen, her own words staring back at her like a confession. Today, I experienced what millions of people of color experience every day in corporate America. I was dismissed, disrespected, and told to compromise my dignity for someone else's comfort. The only difference between me and countless others is that I had the power to say no, to ground the plane, to demand accountability. Most people don't have that power. They just have to endure. That ends now. Effective immediately, Pinnacle Airways will implement mandatory bias training for all employees. We will establish an independent review board for discrimination complaints. We will release quarterly diversity reports. And we will create a zero-tolerance policy for racist behavior from staff and passengers. If you can't treat every human being with respect, you can't fly with us. I don't care how much money you spend. I don't care what status you hold. Dignity isn't negotiable. Not anymore. Her lawyer called. She let it go to voicemail. Her PR director called. Voicemail. Her mother called. She answered. Baby, I saw the video. Quinella closed her eyes. Mama? Big. You were 8 years old the last time I saw that look on your face. You remember that waiting room in Birmingham. That woman who told you to move to the colored section. I remember. You asked me why. You asked me why we had to move when we weren't doing anything wrong. You remember what I told you. Quinella's throat tightened. You said, sometimes, baby, the world is wrong and you're right, but you still gotta move because you don't have the power to change it yet. Yet, her mother's voice was thick with emotion. I said yet, and look at you now. Mama, I just torpedoed my own company's stock price. You stood up. There's a difference. The board is going to kill me. Let them try. I didn't raise you to be small. I raised you to take up all the space you earned. Quinella wiped her eyes. I'm tired. I know, baby, but you can't stop now. The whole world is watching. That was the problem. The whole world was watching. Her phone buzzed. A text from Edward. Her board chair. Emergency board meeting. Tomorrow, 8 a.m. Be ready. She texted back, I'm always ready, but she wasn't sure that was true anymore. The next morning, Quinella walked into the Pinnacle Airways headquarters at 7:43 a.m. wearing a black suit that cost more than most people's cars and exhaustion that no amount of concealer could hide. She'd slept 90 minutes, fielded 200 emails, watched her company's stock drop 12% overnight. The lobby fell silent when she entered. Every employee stopped, stared. She felt their eyes like lasers tracking her across the marble floor. A young black woman at the reception desk stood up. Ms. Royce? Quinella paused. The woman's eyes were wet. Thank you. My daughter watched the video. She's 7. She asked me if she could be a pilot when she grows up. She's never asked me that before. Quinella's chest tightened. Tell her yes. Tell her she can be anything she wants. I will. Because of you, I will. Quinella nodded and kept walking. She couldn't afford to break down now. Not yet. The executive elevator felt like a coffin. 23 floors of silence and her own reflection staring back at her from the polished steel doors. She looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Maybe she had. The boardroom door was already open. 12 faces turned toward her as she entered. 10 white, 1 Asian, 1 black Marcus Chen CFO, her closest ally in this building. Edward sat at the head of the table, 72 years old and sharp as broken glass. He gestured to the empty chair across from him. Quinella, sit. She sat. Rough night. His tone was unreadable. I've had worse. Have you? He slid a tablet across the table. Stock's down 14% now. We've had 4,000 flight cancellations. Social media is a war zone. Half the country thinks you're a hero. The other half thinks you've lost your mind. And Victoria Hartwell's lawyers called an hour ago. They're threatening to sue for emotional distress, defamation, and loss of reputation. Quinella picked up the tablet, scanned the numbers, felt nothing. Let them sue. Quinella, she racially profiled me on my own plane, Edward. She can sue all she wants. Discovery will be fascinating. Margaret Stinson, the oldest board member, cleared her throat. 79 old money voted against Quinella's CEO appointment 3 times. With all due respect, Ms. Royce, this situation could have been handled more diplomatically. Diplomatically? Quinella repeated the word like it was a foreign language. How? You could have quietly resolved it after the flight. Filed a complaint through proper channels. Avoided the spectacle. You mean I could have swallowed it, smiled, pretended it didn't happen? Margaret's lips thinned. I mean, you could have considered the company's reputation before making yourself the story. I didn't make myself the story. Racism did. That's a very serious accusation. It's a very accurate one. Marcus leaned forward. Margaret, with respect, we all saw the video. There's no ambiguity here. There's always ambiguity, Margaret shot back. Perhaps Ms. Hartwell was simply having a bad day. Perhaps there was a genuine confusion about seating. There was no confusion. Quinella's voice could have frozen fire. She looked at my skin and decided I didn't belong in first class. Then your employees backed her up. Then your captain threatened to remove me. There's no ambiguity in that. David Torres, head of operations, spoke up. The question isn't what happened. The question is how we move forward. We have a PR nightmare, a stock crisis, and a workplace culture problem we can no longer ignore. Finally, Quinella muttered. Someone said it out loud. Edward held up a hand. Quinella, walk us through your plan. The statement you released last night outlined policy changes. We need specifics. She stood, walked to the presentation screen, pulled up a document she'd spent all night preparing. Mandatory anti-bias training for every employee, every level, including this board. Margaret scoffed. Surely that's excessive. It's required, non-negotiable. If you want to sit on this board, you'll complete the training, same as everyone else. She clicked to the next slide. Independent review board for all discrimination complaints. No internal handling, no sweeping things under the rug. External investigators, public reports. That's opening us up to liability, David started. We're already liable. We're just finally being honest about it. Next slide. Zero tolerance policy for discriminatory behavior, staff or passengers. I don't care if someone spends $1 million a year with us. If they treat our employees or other passengers with racism, sexism, homophobia, or any other form of bigotry, they're banned. Permanently. You'll destroy our premium customer base. Good. I'd rather have a smaller customer base that treats people like human beings than a large one that treats us like servants. Quinella, that's not realistic. It's reality now. I own 67% of this company. These changes are happening. Silence. Then Margaret stood. Then you'll be doing it without me. I resign from this board effective immediately. Accepted. Quinella didn't blink. Margaret's face went red. You can't just... I can, and I did. Your resignation is accepted. Security will escort you out. You're making a mistake. The mistake was letting people like you make decisions for this long. Margaret grabbed her bag and stormed out. Heels clicking like gunshots. The door slammed. Edward looked at Quinella for a long moment. Anyone else? The room stayed quiet. Good. Then let's talk implementation timeline. They worked through lunch, through dinner. By the time Quinella left the building at 9 p.m., she had a plan, a budget, and 3 new board members lined up to replace the ones who'd quit. She also had 200 more voicemails. She hadn't listened to. Her driver pulled up. She collapsed into the back seat. Home, Ms. Royce? No, take me to the Pinnacle Training Facility. Ma'am, it's after 9. I know what time it is. Drive. 20 minutes later, she walked into the massive training center where every Pinnacle employee went through orientation. The night supervisor jumped up from his desk. Ms. Royce, I didn't know you were coming. I want to see the anti-discrimination training materials, all of them, right now. He blinked. We don't actually have formal anti-discrimination training. There's a video in the orientation that covers basic workplace respect, but show me. He led her to a training room, pulled up the video, hit play. Quinella watched in silence. 5 minutes of generic corporate speak. Smiling actors. Vague language about treating everyone professionally. Nothing about race. Nothing about bias. Nothing about what to do when a passenger attacks another passenger. Nothing real. She turned it off. Get me the head of HR, now. Ma'am, it's almost 10 p.m. I don't care if it's 3 in the morning. Get her on the phone. 2 minutes later, she was speaking to Linda Vasquez, Director of Human Resources. Linda, how long have we been using that training video? The workplace respect one since 2008, I think. Why? It's garbage. I want it scrapped. I want a complete overhaul of our discrimination training. I want real scenarios, real consequences, real accountability, and I want it done in 30 days. 30 days, Ms. Royce, that's not enough time. Then hire more people. I don't care what it costs. This is priority 1. I'll get started first thing tomorrow. You'll get started tonight. I'll send you a list of consultants by midnight. Call them. Offer them whatever they want. This is happening. She hung up. The supervisor stared at her. Miss Royce, are you okay? No. She turned to look at him. Really look. Young kid, maybe 25, Latino, night shift supervisor, which meant he was probably working 2 jobs. What's your name? Javier. Javier Santos. Javier, have you ever been discriminated against at work? He hesitated. The truth. I need to hear it. Yes, ma'am. A few times. Passengers, mostly, assuming I'm maintenance instead of management, asking for my supervisor when I am the supervisor. Small things. They're not small. Quinella pulled out her phone. I'm making you part of the advisory board for the new training program. You'll work directly with HR. Full compensation. Your insight matters. His eyes went wide. Are you serious? I'm the CEO. I'm always serious. Someone will contact you tomorrow with details. She walked out before he could respond. Her driver was waiting. Home now, Miss Royce? Yeah, now I can go home. But when she got there, she couldn't sleep. She poured herself a drink, opened her laptop. The internet was still on fire. A news anchor on CNN. The question everyone's asking tonight, did Quinella Royce overreact, or did she finally do what needed to be done? A think piece in The Atlantic. When the powerless gain power, what Flight 1847 teaches us about corporate accountability. A thread on Twitter with 400,000 likes. Y'all really mad at her for grounding one plane black women ground themselves every day to make you comfortable. She just stopped. But also, death threats in her DMs. Hundreds of them. You should have stayed in your place. Uppity bitch. Someone needs to teach you a lesson. We know where you live. Quinella read them all, let them sink in, felt nothing but a cold, hard resolve. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello. Ms. Royce? A woman's voice. Shaking. My name is Jessica Park. I'm a flight attendant for Pinnacle. I've worked for you for 6 years. I just wanted to call and say, thank you. Quinella sat up straighter. For what? For what you did, for not backing down. I've been harassed by passengers dozens of times. Racial slurs, groping, threats. And every time I report it, I'm told to keep the peace or not make waves. I've started to think it's just part of the job. But watching you say no, it reminded me that it doesn't have to be. Quinella's throat tightened. It shouldn't be, and it won't be. Not anymore. I know people are angry at you. I know the stock is down. But you changed something for us, for all of us who've been told to smile and take it, so thank you. The call ended. Quinella sat in the dark, holding her phone, feeling the weight of what she'd started. Her email pinged. Subject line, you have my support. She opened it. It was from Captain James Rodriguez, one of her senior pilots. Latino. 20 years with the company. Ms. Royce, I've remained silent about discrimination in this industry for too long. After watching what happened to you, I can't stay quiet anymore. I'd like to share my story. I'd like to help with the changes you're making. Whatever you need, I'm here. Another email arrived, then another, then 50 more. Flight attendants, pilots, ground crew, gate agents, all with stories, all offering support, all saying the same thing. Finally, someone is listening. Quinella read them until 3 a.m. Then she started writing responses, personal, individual, thanking each one because they deserved to be seen, the way she'd deserved to be seen in that first-class cabin. 2 days later, Victoria Hartwell's first interview aired on Fox News. Quinella watched it from her office, her entire executive team gathered around the conference table in silence. Victoria looked perfect. Hairstyled, makeup flawless, designer dress, victim face activated. I just don't understand what I did wrong, she said, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. I've been flying that route for 15 years. I always sit in 2A. It's my seat. And suddenly I'm being vilified as some kind of racist monster because of a simple seating misunderstanding. The interviewer leaned in. But Ms. Hartwell, the video shows you saying people like you don't usually sit in first class. How do you explain that? I was talking about people who book last minute, people who dress more casually. It had nothing to do with race. Marcus threw a pen across the room. She's lying through her teeth. Let her? Quinella said quietly. Let her dig the hole deeper. Victoria continued. And the fact that she grounded an entire plane, that she suspended good people just trying to do their jobs, that she's now threatening to ban passengers for exercising their rights, that's not justice, that's revenge. Is it true she's threatened legal action against you, but... the interviewer asked. No, I'm threatening legal action against her, for defamation, for emotional distress, for destroying my reputation. I've lost business opportunities. I've been harassed online. My family has received death threats, all because she turned a simple misunderstanding into a racial incident that never happened. Quinella turned off the TV. Boss Marcus looked at her. What do we do? Nothing. Nothing. She just perjured herself on national television. Every word she said contradicts the video evidence. Let her lawyer try to defend that in court. We'll bury her. David Torres, who'd been quiet, finally spoke. She has a point, though, about the banning passengers policy. We're getting pushback from civil rights groups. They're saying you can't ban people without due process. Watch me. Quinella? No, listen to me, all of you. She stood, faced her team. For decades, this industry has banned passengers for being drunk, for being disruptive, for threatening crew. We've done it without hesitation, without lawsuits, without backlash. But the second I suggest banning passengers for racist behavior, suddenly we need due process. Suddenly, it's too far. Silence. That tells you everything you need to know about whose comfort we've been protecting, and it's over. If someone threatens a flight attendant, they're banned. If someone racially harasses another passenger, they're banned. I don't care who their lawyer is. Dignity isn't up for debate. Her general counsel spoke up. We'll need airtight documentation, video evidence, multiple witnesses. Otherwise, we're exposed legally. Then make sure we have it. Install more cameras. Train staff on documentation, whatever it takes, but the policy stands. Yes, ma'am. Quinella's assistant knocked on the door. Ms. Royce, there's someone here to see you. She says it's urgent. Who? She wouldn't say, but she's a young woman, college age, blue hair. She says you'll want to hear what she has to say. Quinella's heart skipped. Send her in. Zoe Kim walked through the door, looking terrified and determined in equal measure. Ms. Royce, I'm Zoe. I'm the one who live-streamed what happened on the plane. I know who you are. Sit. Zoe sat fidgeting with her phone. I wanted to come in person because people are calling me a clout chaser. They're saying I exploited the situation for views. They're saying I should have put the phone down and helped you instead of recording. And what do you say? I say if I hadn't recorded it, no one would believe it happened. I say documentation is activism. I say the world needed to see what you experienced because it happens every day and people pretend it doesn't. Quinella studied her. How old are you? 20. I'm a junior at NYU. What are you studying? Journalism and social justice? Good. Keep studying. Keep recording. Keep making people uncomfortable. That's how things change. Zoe's eyes filled with tears. You're not mad. Mad, you're the reason any of this matters. Without your video, it would have been my word against hers. Another black woman complaining. Another story no one believes. You gave me proof. You gave me power. Why would I be mad? Victoria Hartwell's lawyers called me. They want me to delete the video. They're threatening to sue me for invasion of privacy. Don't delete anything. Forward their threats to my legal team. They'll handle it. Ms. Royce, I don't have money for lawyers. You do now. Consider yourself represented by Pinnacle Airways Legal Department. Pro bono. They come after you, they come after me. Zoe started crying. Thank you so much. Thank you for being brave enough to hit record. The world needs more people like you. After Zoe left, Quinella stood at her office window looking out over the city. Her phone buzzed. A news alert breaking 3 more airlines has announced enhanced anti-discrimination policies following Pinnacle Airways incident. Then another, United Airlines CEO, we stand with Quinella Royce in the fight for passenger dignity. Then another, Delta announces independent review of discrimination complaints after viral flight 1847 video. Marcus appeared at her door. Boss, you seeing this? Yeah. They're following your lead. They're covering their asses, but I'll take it. Stocks recovering, up 6% today. Good. Victoria Hartwell's interview backfired. Social media is destroying her. Her company's dropped her as a spokesperson. Her husband filed for divorce an hour ago. Yes, still? Quinella felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just exhaustion. She did this to herself. She did, but Quinella... Marcus paused. Are you okay? No, but I will be. You changed the industry in 3 days. I started the conversation, but we're nowhere near done. Her phone rang. Her mother. Mama, I'm at work. Turn on Channel 7, now. She grabbed the remote, switched to Channel 7, a press conference, dozens of flight attendants standing on the steps of Pinnacle headquarters. A banner behind them, We Stand with Quinella. A black flight attendant stepped to the microphone. My name is Cheryl Washington. I've worked for Pinnacle Airways for 19 years. And I'm here today to say what our CEO said on Flight 1847, enough is enough. Another attendant joined her, then another, then 20 more, all sharing stories, all demanding change, all refusing to be silent anymore. Quinella watched with tears streaming down her face. "You did that, baby," her mother whispered through the phone. "You made them brave." "No, Mama, they were always brave. I just gave them permission to show it." The next morning, Quinella woke up to 10,000 new emails. Half were thank yous, half were death threats. She read them all. Then she got dressed, put on her armor of a perfectly tailored suit, and went back to work. Because the revolution had started. And she wasn't stopping until it was finished. The revolution wasn't supposed to cost her everything. But by week 2, that's exactly what it was doing. Quinella stood in front of the Senate Commerce Committee, hand raised, swearing to tell the truth. The hearing room was packed. Cameras everywhere. Senators looking at her like she was either a hero or a threat, depending on which side of the aisle they sat on. Senator Patricia Wilkins, Republican, from Texas, white hair, sharp as her tone, leaned into her microphone. "Miss Royce, your actions on Flight 1847 have sparked a national conversation, but some would argue you've also sparked a dangerous precedent. Are you comfortable with the idea of CEOs unilaterally grounding aircraft based on personal grievances?" Quinella met her eyes without flinching. "It wasn't a personal grievance, Senator. It was a civil rights violation happening in real time on my aircraft. And yes, I'm comfortable using my authority to stop discrimination. I'd think you would be too." Murmurs rippled through the gallery. Senator Wilkins's smile was ice. "But who decides what constitutes discrimination? You've now banned 43 passengers from flying with Pinnacle Airways. 43 people who've been deemed racist based on your company's internal judgment. No trial, no due process, just banned. Doesn't that concern you? What concerns me is that those 43 people felt entitled to verbally assault my employees and passengers. What concerns me is that we live in a country where defending human dignity is considered controversial, but attacking it is considered free speech. So you don't believe in free speech. I believe in consequences. You're free to be a bigot. You're not free to do it on my plane." The room erupted, people shouting, cameras flashing, senators banging gavels. Senator James Crawford, Democrat from New York, jumped in. "Ms. Royce has a right to protect her employees and customers. Private companies set conduct standards every day. This is no different." "It's entirely different," Wilkins shot back. "She's created a blacklist based on subjective criteria." "There's nothing subjective about calling someone the N-word," Crawford fired back. "Which is what happened in 12 of those 43 cases. Or do you consider that protected speech, Patricia?" The hearing devolved into chaos. Quinella sat perfectly still, hands folded, watching senators argue about her life like she wasn't sitting right there. 3 hours later, she walked out into a mob of reporters. "Ms. Royce, how do you respond to accusations that you're weaponizing your platform?" Ms. Royce, Victoria Hartwell's lawsuit now includes charges of intentional infliction of emotional distress. "Ms. Royce, is it true 3 board members resigned this morning?" She stopped, turned to face the cameras. "Yes, 3 board members resigned because they disagree with our new policies." "Good. If you can't support basic human dignity, you don't belong on my board." As for Victoria Hartwell's lawsuit, I welcome it. Discovery will be fascinating. And to those who think I'm weaponizing my platform, you're damn right I am. I'm weaponizing it against racism, against discrimination, against the normalization of dehumanization. If that makes me dangerous, then we need more dangerous women in power. She walked away through a storm of shouted questions. Her phone was ringing before she reached the car. "Edward." She answered. "I know." 3 board members, Quinella, 3. We're hemorrhaging leadership. We're shedding dead weight. There's a difference. The FAA is launching an investigation into your emergency ground hold. Let them investigate. I followed protocol. Your protocol. You created an executive override that no other airline has. Because I built this company, I'm allowed to protect it. You're also required to answer to shareholders, and they're panicking. Stock's down again, 22% since this started. Quinella closed her eyes. "Schedule an emergency shareholder meeting. I'll handle it." "When?" "Tomorrow. I'm done hiding." She hung up. Her driver pulled into traffic. She stared out the window at the city rushing past all those people living their lives completely unaware that hers was imploding. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Media found out about the death threats. CNN wants a statement. What do I tell them?" She typed back, "Tell them I don't negotiate with terrorists." Another text, this time from Linda in HR. "We have 847 applications for the new advisory board positions. People want to help." That made her smile. Finally, something good. But then another text. Unknown number. You should have stayed quiet. Now you'll pay. We know where you live. We know your routine. Watch your back. She screenshot it, forwarded it to her head of security, kept moving. Because stopping meant letting them win. The shareholder meeting was brutal. 200 angry investors packed into the conference center, all of them holding stock certificates and rage in equal measure. Quinella walked onto the stage to a chorus of boos. A man in the third row stood up red-faced. You've tanked our stock by 22% in 2 weeks. 22%. My retirement fund is bleeding because you couldn't just take another seat. Scattered applause. Quinella gripped the podium. Your retirement fund is bleeding because this company was built on a foundation of tolerating discrimination. I'm fixing that. Yes, it's costing us in the short term, but in the long term, we'll be stronger. Stronger. A woman in the front row stood. We've lost major corporate contracts. Delta just poached 3 of our biggest accounts because their clients don't want to be associated with controversy. Then they were never our clients. They were our enablers. That's not how business works. That's exactly how business works. We either stand for something or we stand for nothing. I choose something. A younger man, maybe 30, raised his hand. Ms. Royce, I'm with you. I think what you're doing is right, but I also think you're going to destroy this company in the process. Can't there be a middle ground? No. She said it simply, firmly. There's no middle ground between dignity and discrimination. There's no compromise between humanity and hatred. We're either all the way in on protecting our people or we're complicit. I chose all the way in. An older white man in an expensive suit stood up. Then you chose wrong. I'm calling for a vote of no confidence. I move to remove Quinella Royce as CEO effective immediately. The room went silent, then erupted. Half the room on their feet shouting support, the other half shouting her down. Edward banged his gavel. Order, we'll have order. But there was no order, just chaos. Quinella stood at the podium watching her company tear itself apart. Marcus appeared at her elbow. Boss, we need to go. This is getting dangerous. No, I'm staying. Let them vote. Quinella, I said let them vote. It took 40 minutes to restore order, another 20 to count votes. Quinella stood on that stage perfectly still while her fate hung in the balance. Finally, Edward approached the microphone. The votes have been counted. The motion to remove Quinella Royce as CEO has failed. 50% in support of Ms. Royce, 48% against. She retains her position. The room exploded again. Quinella felt nothing, no relief, no victory, just exhaustion. She walked off the stage through a gauntlet of screaming shareholders. Outside, reporters mobbed her. Ms. Royce, how does it feel to survive a vote of no confidence by only 4 percentage points? It feels like I have work to do. Are you worried about another vote? I'm worried about doing what's right. Everything else is noise. She got in her car, locked the door, pressed her forehead against the cool glass. Her phone rang. Her mother. Baby, I'm watching the news. Are you okay? No. Come home. Come see me. I can't. I have too much. Quinella Marie Royce, you come home right now. That's not a request. 40 minutes later, Quinella walked into her childhood home in Brooklyn. Her mother opened the door, took one look at her face, and pulled her into a hug that felt like safety itself. When's the last time you ate? I don't remember. When's the last time you slept? Also don't remember. Her mother led her to the kitchen, started making food without asking what Quinella wanted. Just made it, the way she always had. Quinella sat at the table where she'd done homework as a kid, where she'd cried about boys, where she'd celebrated her first job, her first promotion, her first million, where she'd learned what strength looked like. Mama, I think I'm losing. You're not losing. You're fighting. There's a difference. Half my shareholders want me gone. The FAA is investigating me. Victoria Hartwell is suing me for $10 million. The board is fractured. The stock is tanking. My own employees are divided. How is that not losing? Her mother set a plate of food in front of her, didn't speak until Quinella took a bite. You remember when you were 16 and you wanted to be a pilot? Yeah. You remember what your guidance counselor said? Quinella's jaw tightened. He said black girls don't become pilots. He said I should aim for something more realistic. And what did you do? I applied to flight school anyway. And when they rejected you, I applied again. And again, and again. Until someone said yes, because that's who you are. You don't lose, baby. You just haven't won yet. Quinella's eyes burned with tears she'd been holding back for weeks. This is different. How? Because I'm not just fighting for me anymore. I'm fighting for everyone who's ever been told to compromise their dignity, and if I fail all of them. Then don't fail. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. Her mother sat down across from her. You think Martin Luther King didn't want to quit? You think Rosa Parks wasn't scared? You think every person who ever stood up against injustice didn't have moments where they wanted to give up, but they didn't, because they knew that someone had to be first, someone had to be brave, someone had to say enough. I'm so tired, Mama. I know, but you don't get to rest yet. The world is watching. All those little girls who look like you are watching. All those women who've been silenced are watching. You started something. Now you have to finish it. Quinella ate in silence while her mother watched with eyes that had seen too much and hoped for too much and refused to accept anything less than everything. What if I can't? Quinella whispered. Then you couldn't, but you haven't tried yet, so eat your food, get some sleep, and tomorrow you get back up and fight. That night, sleeping in her childhood bed, Quinella dreamed about Flight 1847, but in the dream she moved. She took another seat. She smiled and apologized and made herself small, and in the dream, Victoria Hartwell laughed and laughed and laughed. She woke up at 3 a.m. heart-pounding and knew she'd made the right choice. The next morning, she returned to work with a clarity she hadn't felt in weeks. Marcus, I need you to pull every discrimination complaint filed against Pinnacle in the last 10 years. That's thousands of complaints. I want all of them. I want to know how many we dismissed, how many we settled quietly, how many people we silenced with NDAs and payoffs. Boss opening those files is going to expose us to massive liability. We're already exposed. We just pretended we weren't. Get me the files. By noon, her office was drowning in paperwork, complaints stretching back a decade, stories of flight attendants groped by passengers, gate agents called slurs, pilots passed over for promotion, passengers humiliated, dismissed, dehumanized. All of it buried. All of it paid to go away. All of it ignored. Quinella read every single one. By the time she finished, it was midnight, and she was sick to her stomach. She called an emergency executive meeting for 6 a.m. When her leadership team arrived exhausted and confused, she was waiting with stacks of files. This is what we've been hiding. She gestured to the mountain of complaints. This is what we've been protecting. This is the company we actually are when no one's watching. Linda from HR went pale. Ms. Royce, those are confidential. Not anymore. I'm releasing them, all of them. You can't. Watch me. I'm publishing a comprehensive report of every discrimination complaint filed against this company in the last decade. How many we received, how many we investigated, how many we buried. The truth, all of it. David Torres stood up. That's corporate suicide. No, hiding it was suicide. We just died slowly. This is resurrection. Quinella, please, Edward said quietly. Think about what you're doing. I have thought about it. I've thought about nothing else. We can't demand accountability from passengers and staff if we're not willing to be accountable ourselves. This company has been complicit in discrimination for years. That ends now. The lawsuits alone will bankrupt us. Then we'll rebuild from nothing. But we'll rebuild clean. Marcus ran a hand over his face. Tomorrow, I'm holding a press conference. I'm releasing everything, and I'm apologizing to every person we failed, every employee we didn't protect, every passenger we didn't believe. All of it. This is going to be a bloodbath, Linda whispered. Good. We deserve it. The press conference the next day was standing room only. Every major news outlet, every blogger, every activist who'd been following the story. Quinella walked to the podium wearing white, a choice her stylist said would convey purity and transparency. She thought it just looked like surrender, but maybe that's what this was. Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm not going to waste your time with preamble or spin. 2 weeks ago, I grounded Flight 1947 after being racially profiled in my own first-class cabin. That incident sparked a national conversation about discrimination in the airline industry, and I stood here and promised change. But I've been a hypocrite. The room went silent. Because while I was demanding accountability from my staff and passengers, I wasn't demanding it from myself, from this company, from our leadership. So today I'm releasing a full report of every discrimination complaint filed against Pinnacle Airways over the last 10 years. It's comprehensive, it's damning, and it's the truth. She held up a thumb drive. 2 847 complaints? Racial discrimination, sexual harassment, religious bias, homophobia, all of it documented, all of it real. And we failed to address 73% of them appropriately. We buried complaints. We silenced victims with NDAs. We protected perpetrators to protect our reputation. We were complicit. Reporters were scribbling frantically. I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here to apologize. To every person we failed, I am truly sorry. To every employee who came forward and was ignored, I am sorry. To every passenger who was mistreated and told to let it go, I am sorry. We failed you. I failed you. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. Effective immediately, we're dissolving every NDA related to discrimination complaints. Anyone we've silenced can speak freely. We're establishing a victim compensation fund. We're implementing every recommendation from the Independent Review Board. And we're committing to full transparency moving forward. Every complaint, every investigation, every outcome. Public record. Ms. Royce? A reporter stood up. This is going to destroy your company. Then we'll deserve it. But I'd rather lead a bankrupt company with integrity than a profitable one built on silence. Another reporter. What about the lawsuits? We'll face them, every single one. We'll settle fairly. We'll make amends, whatever it takes. What about your job? There are calls for your resignation? I'm not resigning. I started this mess. I'm going to clean it up. Fire me if you want. Vote me out. But until then, I'm here and I'm fighting. The questions came rapid fire for an hour. She answered every single one. When it was over, she walked off stage into chaos. Her phone was exploding. The board was calling. Shareholders were panicking. Her lawyer was screaming about liability. She ignored them all, because in her email there was a message from an address she didn't recognize. Subject line, thank you. She opened it. Ms. Royce, my name is Patricia Gomez. 3 years ago, I filed a complaint against a Pinnacle captain who sexually harassed me repeatedly. I was a flight attendant. I loved my job. But when I reported him, I was told I was being too sensitive. They offered me $15,000 and an NDA to drop it. I was a single mother. I needed the money. So I took it and quit. I've been carrying that shame ever since. But today you gave me my voice back. You said what happened to me mattered. That's worth more than any settlement. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. Quinella read it 3 times. Then she stood up, walked to her assistant's desk, and said, Get me Patricia Gomez on the phone. I want to apologize to her personally. Ms. Royce, you have 17 other calls. They can wait. Get me Patricia. 10 minutes later, she was talking to a woman who'd been silenced 3 years ago. Ms. Gomez, this is Quinella Royce. I'm calling to apologize for what this company did to you. Silence on the other end, then crying. I never thought anyone would care, Patricia whispered. I care, and I want to make it right. Will you meet with me? You want to meet with me. I want to hear your story, really hear it, not as a complaint number or a liability, as a person. Will you let me? More crying. Yes, I'll meet with you. They met 2 days later in a quiet coffee shop in Queens. Patricia was 34, beautiful, scared. They talked for 3 hours. Patricia told her everything. The harassment, the gaslighting, the choice between her dignity and her livelihood, the years of therapy, the trust she'd lost in institutions. Quinella listened without interrupting. When Patricia finished, Quinella said simply, I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry, and I want to offer you something. I don't want money. Not money. A job. Back at Pinnacle, in our new HR department, investigating discrimination complaints, making sure no one else has to make the choice you made. Will you consider it? Patricia stared at her. You want me to work for you. I want you to work with me, to build something better. You know what it feels like to be failed by this system? Help me fix it. Patricia cried again, but this time through her tears she smiled. Yes, I'll do it. Over the next 3 weeks, Quinella personally called 47 people who'd filed complaints that were dismissed or buried. She apologized to every single one. She offered settlements, jobs, references, whatever they needed to feel whole again. Some hung up on her, some cursed her out, some cried, some forgave her. She accepted all of it, because this was the work, not press conferences or policy changes, this, looking people in the eye and saying, I failed you and I'm sorry. The stock continued to fall, down 30% now. 3 more board members resigned. Victoria Hartwell's lawsuit expanded to include fraud and conspiracy charges. The FAA investigation deepened. But something else was happening too. Applications to work at Pinnacle Airways increased by 400%. Customer satisfaction scores started climbing. Other airlines began adopting similar transparency policies. A movement was building, and Quinella was at the center of it, exhausted and embattled and absolutely refusing to quit. Because her mother was right. She'd started something, and now she had to finish it, even if it cost her everything. The cost of everything became clear on a Tuesday morning in October when Quinella's head of security found the package outside her apartment building. She was in a board meeting when Marcus burst through the door, face gray. "We need to evacuate now." Quinella stood. "What's happening?" "Bomb threat. NYPD is clearing the building." The room erupted. Board members scrambling for their phones, their bags, their dignity. Quinella stayed calm, walked them out in an orderly line, then found Marcus in the hallway. "Tell me." "Package addressed to you, left outside your building this morning. Bomb squad is on site." "Was it actually a bomb?" "They don't know yet, but Quinella, there was a note. It said you should have stayed in your seat." Her blood went cold. They evacuated to a hotel across the street. Waited 3 hours while bomb technicians examined the package. Turned out to be a fake, just wires and a timer attached to a box of rocks. But the message was real enough. The police wanted her to make a statement. She refused. "Why not?" the detective asked. "Someone just threatened your life." "Someone threatens my life every day. I'm not giving them the satisfaction of a response." "Ms. Royce, we need to take this seriously." "I am taking it seriously. That's why I'm not stopping." But that night, alone in her apartment with 2 security guards outside her door, she sat in the dark and wondered if she was brave or just stupid. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello. Quinella Royce." A woman's voice. Soft, nervous. "Who is this?" My name is Sarah Chen. I was the flight attendant on your plane, the one who asked you to move." Quinella's grip tightened on the phone. "What do you want?" "I want to apologize. I know you suspended me. I know I deserve it. But I need you to know that I've been thinking about what happened every single day. I was wrong. I saw you, and I saw a problem instead of a person, and I'm sorry." Silence. "Ms. Royce, are you there?" "I'm here. Why are you calling me at 11 p.m.? "Because I just watched the news about the bomb threat, and I realized that you're paying a price for standing up while I'm sitting at home collecting unemployment. That's not fair. So I'm calling to say, I want to help. I want to be part of the solution, if you'll let me." Quinella closed her eyes. "You think one phone call makes up for what you did? No, I think it's a start. I know I can't undo it, but I can do better moving forward. I've been attending workshops on racial bias. I've been reading, learning, listening to people I should have listened to years ago. I'm not asking for my job back. I'm asking for a chance to prove I've changed. People don't change, Sarah. Yes, they do. If they want to badly enough, I want to." Quinella thought about all the calls she'd made, all the apologies she'd given to people her company had failed, all the second chances she'd offered. "Fine. You want to prove you've changed? Show up at headquarters tomorrow at 8 a.m. We're launching a pilot program for bias training. You're going to be a case study. You're going to tell your story, what you did wrong, why you did it, how you're fixing it, in front of a room full of employees who are going to judge you. Can you handle that?" Sarah's voice shook. "Yes, I can handle it." "Good. Don't be late." The next morning, Sarah Chen stood in front of 200 Pinnacle employees and told the truth. "My name is Sarah Chen. I'm the flight attendant who asked Quinella Royce to move from her assigned seat. I'm the person in the video who chose convenience over justice. I'm the coward, who saw discrimination happening and participated in it." The room was silent, hostile. Sarah's hands trembled, but she kept going. "I told myself I was just doing my job. I told myself I was trying to keep the peace. But the truth is, I saw a black woman and a white woman in conflict, and I automatically assumed the black woman was the problem. I didn't check boarding passes carefully. I didn't question the white woman's story. I just believed her, because that's what I've been conditioned to do my whole life." Someone in the back shouted, "So why should we believe you've changed?" "You shouldn't. Not yet. I have to earn that. But I'm here because I want to be better, I want to do better, and I'm willing to put in the work no matter how uncomfortable it is." The questions came hard and fast, angry, justified. "How many other passengers did you treat like that?" "I don't know. I never counted. I never noticed." "That's the problem." "Do you think you deserve your job back?" "No, I think I deserve to earn it back, if that's even possible." "What would you do differently now?" "Everything. I'd check both boarding passes. I'd question both stories. I'd see both people as equally worthy of respect. I'd do my job instead of my bias." Quinella watched from the back of the room. Watched Sarah get torn apart. Watched her take it without defending herself. Watched her cry and keep talking anyway. After an hour, Quinella stood up. That's enough. Sarah, thank you for your honesty. Everyone else think about this. She's not the only one. She's just the one who got caught on camera. How many of you have made assumptions based on someone's appearance? How many of you have chosen comfort over courage? She's not uniquely bad. She's just uniquely visible. So before you judge her, judge yourself. The room shifted, uncomfortable, reflective. Sarah, you're reinstated on a probationary basis. You'll continue training. You'll be monitored closely. You'll be held to a higher standard than anyone else. Can you accept that? Sarah wiped her eyes. Yes, thank you. Don't thank me. Prove me right. After the training session, Marcus pulled Quinella aside. That was risky. People are going to say you're soft, that you're letting her off easy. People are going to say whatever they want. I'm interested in transformation, not punishment. Still, the optics... Screw the optics. She faced a room full of people she harmed and took accountability. That's more than most people ever do. If we're serious about change, we have to allow for growth. Otherwise, what's the point? Her phone buzzed. Her lawyer. Quinella, we need to talk about Victoria Hartwell's lawsuit. Her legal team just filed an amended complaint. They're going after your personal assets now. Your home. Your investments. Everything. Let them try. Quinella, they have a case. If they can prove emotional distress... They can't, because everything I did was justified. I was discriminated against. I responded appropriately. End of story. A jury might not see it that way. Then I'll take my chances. I'm not settling. I'm not apologizing to her. I'm not giving her a single dollar. She created this situation. She can live with the consequences. Your stubbornness is going to bankrupt you. My principles are going to bankrupt me. There's a difference. Now, is there anything else? Her lawyer sighed. The FAA investigation concluded. They're fining Pinnacle $2.3 million for improper use of emergency protocols. Pay it. That's going to hurt. I said pay it. Move on. She hung up. Edward appeared in her doorway. We need to talk about the quarterly earnings report. How bad? We're down 47%. Worst quarter in company history. Quinella sat down slowly. 47%. Yes, and the projections for next quarter are worse. Quinella, I know what you're trying to do. I support it. But we're running out of runway. If we don't course correct soon, there won't be a company left to reform. What do you suggest? Roll back some of the policies. The passenger ban list is costing us millions in lost revenue. The transparency reports are exposing us to lawsuits we can't afford. The compensation fund is draining resources we don't have. We need to slow down. No? Quinella. I said no, we don't slow down. We double down. If we're going to fail, we fail doing the right thing. I won't build another empire on the backs of people's dignity. That's very noble. It's also very bankrupt. Then we'll be noble and bankrupt. I can live with that. Edward stared at her for a long moment. You've changed. 2 months ago, you would have found a compromise. You would have navigated the politics. Now you're just burning it all down. 2 months ago, I didn't know who I was. Now I do, and I know I can't go back to being the person who would have moved from that seat. That person is dead. She died on Flight 1847. This is who I am now. And if you lose everything, then I lose everything, but at least I'll be able to look at myself in the mirror. That night, she got a call from her accountant. Quinella, your personal finances are in trouble. The legal fees alone are approaching $800,000. Your investments are tied up in company stock that's tanking. If this continues, you're going to lose your home. She looked around her penthouse apartment, all this space, all this luxury, built on years of compromising herself. Then I'll lose it. You're not hearing me. I'm hearing you fine. I'm choosing differently. If my wealth was built on silence, I don't want it. That's insane. That's integrity. There's a difference. She hung up and stood at her window looking out at Manhattan glittering below her. All those lights, all those people, all those lives she'd never know. And somewhere out there, people who looked like her were watching her fight. Were drawing strength from her refusal to back down. Were learning that they didn't have to accept less. That was worth more than any penthouse. The next morning brought news that 3 more major corporations had pulled their travel contracts with Pinnacle. $47 million in annual revenue gone. Then the union announced a vote on whether to strike in support of higher wages and better working conditions. Then a whistleblower came forward with allegations of accounting fraud from 5 years ago. The walls were closing in from every direction. Marcus found her in her office at 2 a.m. still working. "Boss, you need to sleep. I need to solve this." "You can't solve everything in one night." "Then I'll take 2 nights." He sat down across from her. "Can I be honest, Marco? Always. You're losing, not the moral argument. You're winning that. But everything else, you're losing. The company's hemorrhaging money. The board's in revolt. Shareholders are organizing a class action lawsuit. Your personal life is imploding. And you're not sleeping. You're not eating. You're not taking care of yourself. You're destroying yourself to save everyone else. And I'm worried that when the dust settles, there won't be anything left of you." Quinella looked at him, really looked, saw the concern in his eyes, the fear. "Would you have me do differently? Yes, I'd have you compromise, find middle ground, save the company even if you can't save the principal. I can't do that." "Why not?" "Because I looked at that little girl's face, Patricia's daughter, 7 years old, asking if she could be a pilot, and I saw myself at that age being told no, being told to aim lower, being told to accept less. And I decided right there that I would burn this company to the ground before I'd teach another generation of little girls that their dignity is negotiable." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "You're going to lose everything." "I know. And you're okay with that." "No, I'm terrified, but I'm more terrified of who I'd become if I stopped fighting." He reached across the desk and took her hand. "Then I'm with you until the end, whatever that looks like. Marcus, you have a family, and I have a conscience. I'm staying." She squeezed his hand, grateful, terrified, determined. The next day brought the hardest decision yet. The union voted to strike. 3,000 employees walked off the job demanding better pay and working conditions in light of the company's financial crisis. Quinella stood at her window, watching picket lines form outside headquarters. Her CFO appeared in her doorway. "We can't operate without them. We need to shut down operations until this resolves." "No, we'll negotiate." "They're asking for a 20% raise across the board. We can't afford that." "Then we'll figure it out. I'm not breaking a union strike. These people deserve better." "Quinella, if we give them what they want, we're bankrupt in 60 days. "Then we're bankrupt, but we're bankrupt treating our employees with respect." She went downstairs, walked through the picket line, approached the union president, a man named Robert Martinez who'd worked for Pinnacle for 23 years. "Robert, talk to me." He looked surprised. "You're coming to me." "I'm coming to you. Tell me what you need." "What we need is for you to stop sacrificing our jobs for your principles. We support what you're doing. We believe in it, but we also have mortgages and kids and bills, and we need to know this company's going to survive long enough to pay us." "Fair. Here's what I can offer. I'll take a 0 salary until we're profitable again. Every member of executive leadership will take a 50% pay cut. We'll redirect that money to employee compensation. It won't be 20%, but it'll be something." Robert blinked. "You'd do that?" "I'm doing it right now. I'll have contracts drawn up by end of day. You have my word." "Why?" "Because you're right. I can't ask you to sacrifice for principles while I'm sitting in a penthouse making millions. If we're rebuilding this company, we're rebuilding it together. That means sharing the pain." Robert studied her face. "You mean that?" "Every word." "Then we'll vote on it. Give us 24 hours. The next day, the union voted to end the strike. Not because they got everything they wanted, but because they got something they'd never had before, a CEO who treated them like partners instead of problems. But the relief was short-lived. That afternoon, Victoria Hartwell's lawsuit went to trial. Quinella sat in a courtroom surrounded by lawyers, facing a jury of 12 strangers who would decide if she'd destroyed a woman's life or defended her own dignity. Victoria's attorney was a shark in a suit. "Ladies and gentlemen, this case is simple. My client made an innocent mistake. She sat in the wrong seat, and instead of handling it with grace, Ms. Royce weaponized her power. She humiliated my client on national television. She destroyed her reputation. She cost her business relationships, her marriage, her standing in the community, all over a seat on an airplane." Quinella's attorney stood. "The defense will show that Victoria Hartwell didn't make an innocent mistake. She made a racist assumption. She told Ms. Royce that people like you don't usually sit in first class. She refused to move even when presented with proof that the seat belonged to Ms. Royce. And when confronted, she doubled down. Ms. Royce didn't destroy Victoria Hartwell's life. Victoria Hartwell's racism destroyed her own life. Ms. Royce simply refused to be its victim. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Witnesses testified. Videos were played. Experts debated the definition of emotional distress. Victoria took the stand, crying beautifully. I'm not a racist. I've never been a racist. I just wanted my seat, that's all. And now my life is ruined because I wouldn't give up a seat I thought was mine. Quinella's attorney crossed. Ms. Hartwell, when you said people like you, what did you mean? I meant people who dress casually. Ms. Royce was wearing a suit. I meant people who book last minute. She booked 3 months in advance. You meant black people. Didn't you? Victoria's face crumpled. No, I would never. You said it on camera. The whole world heard you, and now you want $10 million because you got caught. I want compensation because she destroyed my life. No, Ms. Hartwell, you destroyed your own life. She just refused to let you destroy hers. When Quinella took the stand, she told the truth. I didn't ground that plane to hurt her. I grounded it because I'd spent 43 years compromising my dignity, and I was done. I was done being told to move. Done being told to be flexible. Done being told to make other people comfortable at the expense of my own humanity. That plane wasn't about her. It was about me finally saying no. And do you regret it? No, I regret that it had to happen. I regret that we live in a world where a black woman standing up for herself is considered controversial, but I don't regret standing up. The jury deliberated for 3 days. Quinella didn't sleep, didn't eat, just waited. When the verdict came, she was in her office. Marcus burst through the door. Boss, jury's back. She stood, smoothed her suit, walked to the courthouse like she was walking to her own execution. The jury filed in, wouldn't look at her. That was never a good sign. The judge spoke. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have your honor. In the case of Hartwell versus Royce, how do you find? We find in favor of the defendant Quinella Royce. The courtroom exploded. Victoria screamed. No, this isn't fair. Her lawyers tried to calm her, but she was inconsolable. Quinella sat perfectly still, feeling nothing, just exhausted relief. The judge banged his gavel. Order. The jury has spoken. Ms. Hartwell's lawsuit is dismissed with prejudice. Ms. Royce, you're free to go. Outside the courthouse, reporters mobbed her. Ms. Royce, how do you feel? Tired. What's next for Pinnacle Airways? Survival and then transformation. Do you have a message for Victoria Hartwell? She paused, looked directly into the camera. I hope you find peace. I hope you learn from this. And I hope you understand that the world doesn't owe you comfort at the expense of someone else's dignity. She walked away through a crowd chanting her name. That night, alone in her office, she got an email from Victoria Hartwell. Subject line, I'm sorry. She stared at it for a long time before opening it. Ms. Royce, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need to say it anyway. I'm sorry. You were right. I am racist. I didn't think I was. I thought I was just normal, but normal was built on assumption and privilege I never examined. I lost everything because of that. My marriage, my reputation, my sense of self, and I'm angry, but I'm also starting to understand that I deserved to lose it, because I tried to take something from you that was never mine to take. Your dignity, your humanity, your right to exist in space without justification. I can't undo what I did, but I can acknowledge it, so I'm acknowledging it. I was wrong, you were right, and I'm sorry. Quinella read it 3 times, then she closed the laptop, and finally, for the first time in 8 weeks, she slept. The sleep lasted 4 hours before her phone woke her. It was Marcus, and his voice had an edge she'd never heard before. Turn on the news, any channel, now. She fumbled for the remote, clicked on CNN, saw her own face staring back at her from the screen, but it wasn't about the lawsuit. The headline read, Pinnacle Airways CEO announces unprecedented fellowship program for underrepresented youth in aviation. She sat up. What the hell? I didn't announce anything. Check your email. Someone on your team leaked the proposal you've been working on. It's everywhere. She opened her laptop. The proposal she'd been drafting in secret for weeks, her plan to create a fellowship program offering full scholarships, mentorship, and guaranteed internships to young people of color interested in aviation was now public. Every detail, every number, every name, including the name of the first proposed recipient, Emma Hartwell, Victoria's 17-year-old granddaughter. Oh God, Quinella whispered. The internet was already tearing itself apart. She's giving a scholarship to the racist's granddaughter. This is the most manipulative PR move I've ever seen. No, this is grace. This is what change looks like. This is betrayal to everyone who supported her. Her phone exploded with calls. Board members, investors, activists who'd championed her, all demanding explanations. She ignored them all and called her mother. Mama, did you see? I saw. Baby, why didn't you tell me? Because I knew everyone would react exactly like this. I knew they'd think I was being weak or manipulative or stupid. But Mama, I met Emma Hartwell 3 weeks ago. She came to my office alone. She was crying. She said her grandmother's racism had destroyed her college fund. Every scholarship opportunity dried up because of the association. She said she'd dreamed of being a pilot since she was 6, and now that dream was dead because of something she didn't do. Her mother was quiet for a long moment. What did you say to her? I said her grandmother's sins weren't hers to carry. I said talent and passion don't have a bloodline, and I said if she was serious about aviation, I'd help her, not because of who her grandmother is, but in spite of it. And now the whole world thinks you're either a saint or a fool. I know, but Mama, if I only help people who are easy to help, what's the point? If I only show grace to people who deserve it, that's not grace, that's just fairness. Grace is harder than that. You're right, but baby, you need to prepare yourself. This is going to cost you, again. She was right. By noon, Quinella had lost 3 major donors who'd pledged support for the fellowship program. By evening, 2 prominent civil rights activists had publicly withdrawn their endorsements. By midnight, the hashtag Black Twitter Eyes Over You was trending. She sat in her office reading the comments, each one a knife. She really gave that racist's granddaughter a scholarship. I'm done. This is what happens when black women try to be respectable. They betray their own people. Quinella Royce chose white comfort over black liberation. Disappointing. Marcus appeared in her doorway. You should stop reading those. I need to know what I'm up against. You're up against the internet. You can't win that fight. I'm not trying to win. I'm trying to do what's right. And you think giving Victoria Hartwell's granddaughter a scholarship is right? She looked up at him. Do you think punishing a 17-year-old girl for her grandmother's racism is right? He sat down heavily. No, but I also think optics matter, and this looks like you're rewarding the enemy. Emma Hartwell isn't my enemy. She's a kid who got caught in the crossfire. And if I'm serious about breaking cycles of hatred and bias, it starts with refusing to perpetuate them, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. The board is calling for another vote. They think you've lost your mind. Let them vote. I'm not changing my mind. Quinella. I'm not changing my mind, Marcus. This is the hill I'm dying on. If I lose the company over this, so be it. But I'm not punishing children for their families' mistakes. That's not justice. That's just revenge with better PR. The emergency board meeting happened at 7 a.m. the next morning. Quinella walked in to find 12 exhausted, angry faces. Edward didn't waste time. Quinella, what were you thinking? I was thinking that transformation requires courage, and courage requires consistency. We can't demand that people see beyond their biases if we're not willing to do the same. You're giving a scholarship to Victoria Hartwell's granddaughter. I'm giving a scholarship to a talented young woman who wants to be a pilot. The fact that she's related to Victoria Hartwell is irrelevant. It's entirely relevant. The words came from Jennifer Park, newest board member, Korean American, 47 progressive credentials that could fill a resume. You're sending a message that white people always get second chances, while black and brown people have to be perfect. How do you not see that? I see it, but I also see a 17-year-old girl whose dreams are being destroyed because of guilt by association, and I refuse to participate in that. So you'll participate in betraying the people who fought for you instead. I'm not betraying anyone. I'm expanding the circle of who deserves grace. That's easy to say when you're not the one being erased. I'm the one who was told to move from my seat. Quinella's voice cut through the room like glass. I'm the one who was racially profiled on my own plane. I'm the one who's been fighting this fight every single day for 3 months. So don't tell me I don't understand erasure. I understand it intimately, which is exactly why I refuse to erase Emma Hartwell. Silence. Then David Torres spoke quietly. I think I understand what you're trying to do. I think it's noble, but Quinella, the company, is hanging by a thread. We've lost 43% of our revenue. Our stock is in free fall. We're facing multiple investigations, and now you're creating controversy that's driving away the few allies we have left. At some point, Noble becomes suicidal. Then I'm suicidal, but I'm also consistent, and I'd rather die consistent than live as a hypocrite. Edward leaned forward. The vote is happening today. The board will decide whether you remain as CEO. And Quinella, I have to tell you, I don't think you're going to win this time. Then I won't win, but I'll leave knowing I did what I believed was right. The vote happened at 3 p.m. Quinella wasn't allowed in the room. She sat in her office watching the clock, thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Flight 1847, the viral video, the testimony, the lawsuit, the policy changes, the fellowship program, Emma Hartwell. Every decision had cost her something. Every stand had taken a piece of her. But she'd do it all again. The door opened. Edward walked in. His face was unreadable. "It's over." She stood. "Tell me." "The board voted 7-5 to remove you as CEO effective immediately." The words hit like a physical blow. She sat down slowly. 7-5. "I'm sorry, Quinella. I voted to keep you, but I couldn't convince enough others. They think you've lost sight of the company's survival. They think your principles are bankrupting us." "Maybe they are." "They want you to stay on the board. They want your input on the fellowship program and the policy changes, but they don't want you running the company anymore." "Who's taking over to Marcus? They voted him in as interim CEO." That actually made her smile. "Good. He'll be better at this than I was." "Quinella, you changed this entire industry in 3 months. And I destroyed the company doing it. They're not wrong, Edward. I did lose sight of survival. I was so focused on doing what was right that I forgot to do what was necessary." "No, you forgot that sometimes those things are the same. You did what was necessary. You just did it faster and louder than they were comfortable with." She looked at him. "What happens now?" "Now you rest. You've been running on fumes for months. Take time. Heal. Figure out what's next." "What's next is I finish what I started, the fellowship program. I'm funding it personally if I have to." "With what money Victoria's lawsuit bankrupted you?" "Then I'll figure it out. I didn't come this far to quit now." She packed her office in silence. 22 years of work condensed into 3 boxes. Photos, awards, memories of a career that had just ended. Marcus appeared in the doorway. "Boss? Don't call me that. You're the boss now." "Quinella? It's okay, really. You'll do great. Better than I did." "That's not true." "Marcus, I nearly destroyed this company. You'll save it, and you'll do it while keeping the policies we fought for. That's all that matters." "I don't want your job. I want you to have it." "But you have it now, so make it count. Make it worth what we went through." He helped her carry the boxes to her car. At the curb, he hugged her. "You changed my life," he whispered. "You changed everyone's life." "I tried. That's all any of us can do." She drove home through Manhattan traffic, watching the city blur past through tears she could finally let fall. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Hello?" "Ms. Royce, this is Emma Hartwell." Quinella's breath caught. "Emma, hi?" "I saw the news. I'm so sorry. This is my fault. If I hadn't come to you—" "Stop. This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault." "But you lost your job because of me. I lost my job because I made choices. Hard choices. Choices I'd make again." "Emma, are you still interested in that scholarship?" I don't know. Everyone's saying I don't deserve it, that I'm taking it from someone more worthy. Maybe they're right." "They're not right. You're not more or less worthy than anyone else. You're just a kid with a dream, and I'm not letting anyone take that dream away from you, not even public opinion. So I'm asking again, are you still interested?" Silence, then quiet crying. "Yes, I'm still interested." "Good. Then we're moving forward. I'll be in touch with details. And Emma, don't let anyone make you feel guilty for wanting something. Your grandmother's mistakes are not your burden to carry." "Thank you, Ms. Royce." "Call me Quinella." She hung up and sat in her car outside her apartment building, feeling lighter than she had in months. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mother. "Come home. Family dinner, now, not a request." She smiled and drove to Brooklyn. Her mother's house was full when she arrived. Her sister, her nephews, cousins she hadn't seen in years. All of them gathered around the table like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just lost everything. Her mother pulled her into the kitchen. "How are you, buddy? I got fired today." "I know. I also know you're okay. Are you?" "Yeah, I think I am. Is that weird?" "No, baby. That's freedom. You spent 22 years building something. Now you get to build something better." "With what I'm broke, Mama. The lawsuit drained me. The legal fees destroyed me. I might lose my apartment." "Then you'll move back home. We'll figure it out. But first we eat, because family doesn't disappear just because the money does." Dinner was loud and chaotic, and exactly what Quinella needed. Her nephew asked about the plane. Her sister asked about the fellowship. Her cousin asked if she was going to write a book. "Maybe," Quinella said, "if anyone wants to read about a woman who lost everything standing up for herself." Everyone wants to read that, her sister said. That's the only story worth telling. After dinner, her phone buzzed. An email from someone named Dr. Patricia Morrison. Subject line, an opportunity. She opened it. Ms. Royce, my name is Patricia Morrison. I'm the Dean of the School of Aviation at Howard University. I've been following your journey closely. I wonder if you'd be interested in speaking with me about a position. We're launching a new program on equity in aviation, and we need someone who understands both the industry and the cost of challenging it. Would you consider joining our faculty? Quinella read it 3 times. Then she called the number in the signature. Dr. Morrison, this is Quinella Royce. I got your email. Ms. Royce, thank you for calling. I know this is sudden, but I wanted to reach out before someone else snatched you up. Would you be interested in teaching, Bob? I've never taught before. You've been teaching for 3 months. The whole world has been your classroom. I'm just offering you a more formal setting. What would I teach? Whatever you want. Leadership, ethics, how to survive being the first, how to stand up when everyone's telling you to sit down, the things you know that can't be learned from a textbook. Quinella felt something unfold in her chest. Hope, maybe, or purpose, or just the possibility that losing everything wasn't the end. Can I think about it? Take all the time you need. But Ms. Royce, I hope you say yes, because the next generation needs to learn from someone who chose principles over profit. That's rare. That's valuable. That's you. They hung up. Quinella sat in her childhood home surrounded by family thinking about the future for the first time in months. The next morning she held a press conference from her apartment. No PR team, no lawyers. Just her and a webcam and the truth. Hi, I'm Quinella Royce. I was the CEO of Pinnacle Airways until yesterday. I was removed by the board for making decisions they felt were too costly. They're not wrong. My decisions did cost the company. They cost me personally too. I'm broke. I might lose my home. My reputation is divided between people who think I'm a hero and people who think I'm a villain. But here's what I want you to know. I'd do it all again. She paused, letting that sink in. 3 months ago, I was asked to move from my seat on an airplane because a white woman thought she deserved it more than I did, and I said no. That no cost me everything. My job, my money, my peace. But it also taught me something: the price of dignity is always worth paying. Because once you start compromising your humanity for comfort, you forget what your humanity even was. Comments started flooding in. Quinella, we love you. You're an inspiration. Thank you for not giving up. What's next for you? She smiled at that last one. What's next is I'm launching the Royce Fellowship for Aviation and Leadership. It'll be smaller than I planned. Privately funded since I don't have corporate backing anymore. But it'll exist. And the first recipient is Emma Hartwell, granddaughter of the woman who started all of this. The comments exploded. What? Are you serious? This is either genius or insane. Why would you do that? Because grace isn't grace if you only extend it to people who deserve it, Quinella continued. Grace is choosing to see potential in the children of your enemies. Grace is refusing to let cycles of hatred continue through new generations. Grace is hard, it's costly, it's uncomfortable, but it's also the only way anything ever changes. She took a breath. A lot of you are angry at me right now. You think I betrayed the movement by helping Emma. You think I should have chosen sides more clearly. But here's what I learned. Transformation isn't about choosing seats. It's about expanding the circle of who gets to be human. It's about refusing to participate in dehumanization even when it's justified, even when it's understandable, even when everyone tells you it's the right thing to do. Some of you will stop supporting me because of this. That's okay. I understand. But some of you will understand that the hardest part of fighting for justice isn't the enemies you make. It's the grace you extend when grace feels impossible. That's where change actually happens. She ended the stream. Within an hour, 3 former donors called to reinstate their support. Within 3 hours, Howard University publicly announced her faculty position. Within 6 hours, the Royce Fellowship had raised $400,000 from individual donors. By that night, the narrative had shifted. News anchors debating whether her decision was weak or revolutionary. Op-eds arguing about the nature of grace. Social media split between people who saw her as a sellout and people who saw her as prophetic. But for the first time, Quinella didn't care what anyone thought. She knew what she'd done. She knew why. And she knew she could live with it. 2 weeks later, she moved out of her penthouse into a modest apartment in Harlem. Sold most of her belongings. Kept only what mattered. Started teaching at Howard. Found that she loved it. Found that students asked questions that forced her to articulate things she'd only felt before. Found that maybe losing everything was the best thing that ever happened to her. One afternoon after class, a student approached her. Young black woman, maybe 19, nervous. "Professor Royce, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Do you regret it? Everything you lost?" Quinella thought about it, really thought. "No, I regret how long it took me to start fighting, but I don't regret the fight itself. Even though it cost you everything." "It didn't cost me everything. It cost me things, money, status, comfort, but it gave me something more important." "What?" "Myself. I spent 43 years trying to be acceptable, trying to fit in spaces that weren't built for me, trying to make people comfortable with my existence, and then one day on an airplane I decided I was done. And yeah, it cost me, but it also freed me, because once you stop performing for approval, you realize how much energy you've been wasting on people who were never going to accept you anyway." The student's eyes filled with tears. "I needed to hear that. Thank you." After she left, Quinella sat at her desk looking out at the Howard campus, thinking about everything that had happened. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Stocks recovering. Up 18% this quarter. Your policies are working. People want to fly with airlines that have values. Who knew?" She smiled. Another text. From Emma Hartwell. "Just got accepted to flight school. Top of my class in the entrance exam. Thank you for believing in me when no one else did." Another text. From Sarah Chen. "Just finished my first solo flight as lead attendant. No incidents, no bias. Just good service. I'm getting better. Thank you for giving me the chance." And then, impossibly, a text from an unknown number. "Ms. Royce, this is Victoria Hartwell. I know I have no right to contact you, but I wanted you to know that I've been attending bias workshops. I'm trying to understand what I did, why I thought the way I thought. It's hard, it's uncomfortable, but I'm doing it. Because you were right, and I was wrong. And if my granddaughter gets to be a pilot because you extended grace I didn't deserve, then maybe something good came from something terrible. Thank you." Quinella stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, "We're all learning, keep going." That evening she met her mother for dinner in Brooklyn. "So," her mother said, sliding a plate across the table, "you lost everything and gained everything. How's that feel?" "Confusing, painful, right." "Good. That means you're doing it correctly." "Doing what?" "Living, really living, not just surviving or performing or accommodating, actually living according to what you believe. Most people never do that, baby. They compromise themselves into corners and call it wisdom. But you burned it all down rather than pretend anymore. That's courage. Or stupidity. Same thing sometimes." They ate in comfortable silence. Then her mother said quietly, "I'm proud of you." Quinella looked up. "Even though I lost the company, especially because you lost the company, you chose people over profit, dignity over dollars, grace over revenge. Those are the hardest choices, and you made them anyway. That's the daughter I raised." Quinella's eyes burned. "I'm scared, Mama. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if the fellowship will survive. I don't know if anyone will remember what this was all about. I don't know if any of it mattered." It mattered to Emma. It mattered to Patricia. It mattered to Sarah. It mattered to every person who saw you stand up and thought, maybe I can too. You can't measure impact in quarterly earnings, baby. You measure it in lives changed, and you've changed thousands. What if it's not enough? It's always enough when you've given everything, and you have. So now you rest, you teach, you build something smaller but deeper, and you trust that the seeds you planted will grow in ways you'll never see. 6 months later. Quinella stood at a podium at Howard University watching the first cohort of Royce Fellowship recipients receive their certificates. 20 students, 10 black, 4 Latinx, 3 Asian, 2 indigenous, 1 white girl named Emma Hartwell, who'd survived her grandmother's legacy to become something new, all of them ready to fly. Emma approached after the ceremony. "Professor Royce, I just wanted to say thank you for seeing past who my grandmother was, for giving me a chance when the world said I didn't deserve one. You gave yourself the chance by showing up. I just opened the door. Still, I won't waste it, I promise. I know you won't. Now go, fly, make it mean something." After everyone left, Quinella sat alone in the auditorium thinking about Flight 1947, about Victoria's face when the truth came out, about the moment she'd decided to stop compromising, about everything it had cost her, about everything it had given her. Her phone buzzed. A news alert. Pinnacle Airways announces record profits under new leadership. Marcus Chen credits Royce's policies for industry-wide transformation. She smiled. Then she turned off her phone and walked out into the evening air, feeling lighter than she had in years. Because she'd lost everything that didn't matter, and kept everything that did. Her dignity, her integrity, her ability to look at herself in the mirror, and the knowledge that when the world told her to sit down, she'd stood up, and standing up had changed everything.